Okay, so a very warm welcome. I'm absolutely delighted to be here. Merge Futures is something I've followed over the last couple of years, and I guess today we're here to share our story. But as much as anything, it's about celebrating Northampton. It's about celebrating what we can achieve, and I think that last talk there was some key messages. We are a small local social enterprise. We're based in the Market Square, but we want to act globally in the sense of making a real difference and using Northampton and making it a world leader. And that message of Market Square to Microsoft will hopefully make sense over the next sort of 20, 25 minutes as we explain our story. So, what we're going to look at today and why am I doing this? I want you to be clear on who we are and what we do, and you can see what we're going to expect. So, I'm going to introduce you to Track, tell you a little bit about what we've done, our story so far, and I think that story bit's really important. It's our particular view. We've done things that have worked very well. We've faced difficulties, um, and the key thing is how we've worked together. And I think Digital Northampton is a perfect example of how they've helped us to connect with individuals, which has then led to opportunities for people to get into employment. We're also going to talk about a slightly different perspective. What do you do as a small social enterprise, very little marketing budget? You've been a teacher for 10 years. How do you go about starting a social enterprise? And most importantly, they're helping to create those opportunities for individuals as we go through. Now, anyone that follows our social media account will see we've been tweeting pretty much all day. But what I wanted you to do, just because we can while we're here, you probably sat with a mobile phone in one hand and a laptop elsewhere watching these presentations. I just want you to share what it is that you do, because I'd like to know more about you. And that's the whole point of social media for me. It's about engaging, and the social bit is far more important than the media. How do we engage with people? And what I'd like to create online, on Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever it might be, is a wall of what we do in Northampton to make a difference. So, what do you do to create opportunities for individuals or organisations? We've seen some brilliant examples today. We've gone from hundreds of £1 million figures through to much smaller areas. But what I'd like you to think about is what it is that you do, you make a difference. You might just want to tag us in so that we know you exist. And that is so important. Before I met with Digital Northampton, I didn't know we had companies promoting people across the world. We've got people making CGI for films that are going out in Hollywood. We've got this here in Northampton. So I'd love you to share your thoughts. Make sure you use the hashtag MergeFutures3 and track NN if you can. And please do tag us in. I'm not going to respond while I'm talking because I'll lose track of where I'm going. No pun intended there. But the idea is there that during this kind of short period of time, we're going to show how we've helped to create opportunities, but that has only been possible by working with other people. I need to say at this point, I'm not a social media expert. I'm not an expert in anything as far as I would be concerned. Everything's an opportunity to learn. There are some fantastic companies out there that will help promote you to develop you fantastic content. We had to take a slightly different approach. We've done it ourselves. We've grown it organically, and this is just our story. So if you're sat at home thinking, I fancy a change of career, I fancy a change, what can I do? Here's a story of what we did and how it's worked, and also where we have struggled with us as well. So whilst it's to talk about social media and digital, it's a story of Track and what we do. So Track was born in 2018. I'd spent a decade working as a teacher. Um, I was working in mainstream schools and then special educational needs schools. And what we found was we could support individuals, autistic adults, into colleges, into universities. But when they were leaving leaving education, sorry, there weren't the employment opportunities for them. And then some research came out, and there'll be lots of debate about this figure, showing that only 16% of autistic adults were in full-time employment. Now, more recent research suggests that figure could be 22%. My whole thoughts around that is it's nowhere near 100% of people that want to be in employment can get there. So there is something that we can do. So Track was designed to help employers. We wanted to support individuals to raise awareness and, more importantly, acceptance of autism and how you can make small environmental changes which make a real life-changing difference to people. What we also recognised, though, was we needed to create opportunities for individuals and give them a chance to develop skills. So we set up Cafe Track. So Cafe Track in Northampton Market Square opened in January 2019. Um, I'm going to talk a little bit about how you run a coffee shop that's not been able to open for 15 months of its life shortly, but that's where digital and social came in and really helped us make a difference. Um, Everything that we do is about supporting individuals, trying to find the right role for people, and trying to show businesses that by employing an autistic adult, it's not a nice thing to do, it's a sound business choice. And it's a slightly different message than other people put across. I think some people say you do this because it's a nice thing to do. Not at all. We're supporting individuals who have got a range of skills and really want to help and progress those. So, our story, we set up as a social enterprise. People may ask, what is a social enterprise? From our point of view, we are addressing a social problem, the fact that there are only 16% of autistic adults in employment, and we are an enterprise. We trade, we sell training, we sell food and drink in our cafe, we sell consultancy and support services. Now, we're proud of that. There is an enterprise element to what we do. When we're not a charity, reason being, when we spoke to a lot of autistic adults, they said they didn't want to work with us if we were a charity because they didn't view themselves as charitable. And actually, we've seen the social enterprise movement grow. We've got Northampton as a social enterprise town, the West Northampton Social Enterprise Town group now, and some of the work that's going on is fantastic. From Office Odyssey, who are kind of managing print services that are now supporting people all over the country and making a real difference to the environment, but also in terms of employing people. And that social is the word that comes in again. It's about people. It can be very difficult sometimes over the last 18 months. I don't think it's been a day when I haven't worried about checking bank balances and making sure there's the funds in place to ensure we can keep supporting people. But actually, the difference is getting people into employment and making a real difference to individuals. It might be that we're the first time they've ever had a work experience placement. It might be that we're the only reason they've left the house for the last 12 months. And we can make a real difference from that. And when I talk about moving from awareness to acceptance, awareness is perhaps being able to tell me a definition of autism. What does it mean? Acceptance is where we accept individuals for who they are and embrace their talents and allow them to thrive. And we can do that through the use of digital means. It's given us a different way of supporting people and actually going through there. You know, when I set up a business, I didn't have a clue. I taught business studies for 6 years in a mainstream secondary school, having left university. I thought zero was just a number, not a piece of software. I'd never done a tax return in my life. I just got a pay slip every month. I learned so much so quickly. And how did I learn there and what happened? Collaboration. We got support from the University of Northampton, Semlet Growth Hub. We had some fantastic support from our friends of Track, who we went and asked questions to, and we learnt from them. And did we make mistakes? Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I think people worry about saying they made mistakes. We weren't haphazard. We didn't just go out there and try things in the hope that they would work. But we saw everything as a learning opportunity. 2019, even as a Northampton town centre based business, we faced challenges around Brexit with companies who perhaps sponsorship budgets were being cut, etc. And then we get to 2020 when we've just established the cafe, and then in March the shutters come down and we can't open. But what have been our outcomes? So far, we're now up to 41 people we've supported into paid employment. Everything from graphic designers to retail, logistics, hospitality, admin. Our e-learning unit, which is on our website, was designed by Spokes Education, and we've been delighted to work with them, not only in terms of helping people get employment, but actually in terms of educating their workforce and seeing the ways in which we can help people learn in a different way. So when it comes to social media and digital, what did it all mean to me? Well, as I said, I was a teacher. I used to teach marketing as a unit. I understood what it meant. The 4 Ps always kept coming up. In reality, though, what does it mean when you start running your own business and lots of people will tell you how many times you should post on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter? Should you do this? Should you do that? And there's lots of great advice out there, but there's also lots of conflicting advice. And I think I learned very cleverly, we can only be ourselves. I can only be me. My personality will come through in it. But actually, it's about being ourselves. We listened to people and we took things on board, but actually, it was about being ourselves. We looked to build a brand of the cafe. people find it astonishing that we will promote our competitors. So if you're ever in town, Matchbox Cafe is a fantastic cafe just around the corner from where the M&S used to be. And people will say, Tom, why are you promoting competitors? Well, actually, working together is the way in which towns such as Northampton, with its fantastic history, will continue to make changes and be different from other local towns and cities. We have our neighbour of the week. And I didn't accept any bribery from Richard. This week's neighbour is Digital Northampton. So on our social channels, we'll promote what Digital Northampton do. And we've done that for everything from book launches to snappy snaps to lots and lots of local barbers. But it was about building our brand and what did we mean as a local company. You know, one of the things I never taught kids at school around marketing was the importance of building that brand, in a sense. You'll notice our colour scheme. Anyone that knows me will know I'm proud to have been born Northampton General Hospital, proud supporter of the local football team, and our colours are primarily the county flag colours. And we'll use that, but I didn't know beforehand that colours have numbers and codes that go with them. I just assumed you had claret and white. But actually, that was really important, and that learning element of somebody new, and you know, anyone that's seen our social media will know that we use Canva to produce things. But wow, what a great setup that's been for me. I haven't got Adobe skills, I haven't got these skills, but actually I can make professional looking posts for our social media that have got attention pretty much all over the world. And actually, I think that's been incredibly important for us. The one thing I realised, and you'll probably tell anyone that knows me well will know that I do enjoy my fair share of cake myself. It's a lot easier on social media to get people engaged with a picture of food and drink than it is to congratulate someone on getting into work. Through the two accounts that we've got, at TrackNN and at Cafe TrackNN, I could post a picture of a cake and it would get hundreds of likes, loads of comments. I could post something about training which we've just delivered, which was going to change lots of people's lives, and it would get nothing. But we need to be aware of our audiences and the way in which we interact with them differently. As a business, we're very, very keen. You know, obviously, a lot of our staff, our individuals whom we support, are neurodiverse, and we need to make sure that in our messages there's clear messages being given out. We will take feedback on board. We'll sometimes phrase things in the wrong way, but we learn from that, and we have to sort of go through and improve that. And I think that's a point. I was on the LinkedIn local live session at lunchtime that people were saying about being very keen, and John very keen to know your audience. And John Griff made the great point of telling that story and being aware of who we're speaking to. And again, doing these things, it helped us to grow because actually we did things that other companies didn't do locally. In some ways, we did have a regular blog, which we had good engagement with, and actually that's going to be come back out again very, very shortly. One of the things I remember from teaching business studies that Dragon's Den was always great if you were short of a lesson plan. We took part in the Small Business Sunday with Theo Pathetis on a Sunday night. A great hashtag to get involved with. We were actually chosen as a Small Business Sunday winner, and that really helped to boost our profile. Now, from my point of view, none of this is about me as Tom Cliffe. This is about track and supporting individuals. Obviously, at some point, I become known as the person that's running it, but it's so important for us to make sure that we're involved in that. And the hashtags today, Merge Futures 3, there's some fantastic content on there. It's a great way of growing, and hopefully people will share things during the course of this presentation. I'm aware I'm on the Friday afternoon slot and everyone's counting down to kick off at 8 o'clock or doing everything they can to avoid talking about football. So I won't go there because this isn't a talk about football. But again, if I wanted engagement today, I'd be talking about football more and more because that's the topic. But we've been actually able to build our social media brand by doing that. One of the other things which digital has allowed us to do and social has allowed us to do is to build links with local organisations. So we're very, very fortunate that we've had the support of local businesses that you'll see there who sign up as our friends of track. iShored, for example, were instrumental in allowing us to start as a company. They've provided us with so much different support. And again, when it comes to working together and the social side of things, the one thing we didn't want to do was become a business that takes a paycheck from a company and then we never see them again as a donation. What we wanted to build was partnerships with people. And we've been able to do that to then support people into employment in these businesses, which you can see here. And we've worked in different ways. With the Cobblers, we hosted an Autism Awareness Day, which is a match day was there. We ran it virtually this year. And it was able to help the club engage with different audiences, but actually helps us to get an important message about. And those businesses on that slide there, we work with them. And again, in terms of social media and facts and figures and analytics, when you look at those, actually by sharing each other's materials, it's helped us all to get message. And I know companies have actually won contracts off the basis of the work they do with us. And actually, whether you view it as CSR or just a part of your day in, day out business, supporting local social enterprises has been key. And what's come from this? It's enabled us to build partnerships. So, as well as the cafe in Northampton now, we also work with the Old School in Wolverton, which has its own cafe and guest house and outdoor facilities for individuals. And one which is probably really, really relevant today has been our partnership with the National Museum of Computing. So we've actually got, at the moment, we've got a group of 8 autistic adults who are on placements at the museum. Today they've been doing an art workshop for those that are interested. And that has opened up opportunities for us, which, as it says, has taken us from a small cafe in the market square to delivering training to Microsoft staff across the globe, which we've been doing during lockdown. And actually, what an opportunity that is for us to share our message with, arguably one of the biggest companies in the world. But for me, our engagement with every individual is just as important. It's great to get some kudos for working with Microsoft and actually some of the other companies that we work with that are household names. But for me, it's every individual that we work with about trying to support them into where they go. And I think, in terms of hints and tips, again, different social media channels, we have different content on. Instagram's great from a cafe perspective, posting pictures of food and making it quite interactive. And it comes down to that wanting to engage with people and bringing them into the story. What is it about track? Effectively, if you take any emotion out of it, we provide training and support. But we know that training and support makes a life-changing difference. As a cafe, there's lots of brilliant cafes in Northampton and beyond. But how is ours different? And we want to be seen as somewhere in the community. I was ridiculously proud to have a business with an NN1 postcode. That was something of a life goal for me, and people might not understand why for me, but actually Northampton is somewhere that I believe has got a proud history, but an even better future. We can be quick to knock it, and I think that applies to places all across the world, but actually we've got something very, very special that we can do, and I think as a small social enterprise, we're actually showing the impact that we can have now, because when we started out, it very much was a case of let's get someone into a job because we will have then changed their lives. But as we grow, we can support more people. It helps create more opportunities. And what we can then do is partner up with different organisations. So already we've sort of moved into the whole Semlep area and Oxfordshire as well. And that's a case of growing it in the right way. But that working together and the importance of how we get our message across. Now, we've had to rethink things. I think every business looks at the last, since March last year. And again, as a business studies teacher, I must have missed a paragraph of how to run a business during a pandemic, because what do? We're sat last March faced with, seemingly an unending ability to open a cafe. What do? How are we going to keep going? We've adapted is what we've done. And some of that's been through the use of digital technologies. But again, it's about replicating that social part and now looking forward, seeing which bits do we keep. Because actually, I think you've seen today some of the virtual conferences that they were showing, the virtual events earlier, what opportunities they give. And from an accessibility point of view, that might make it more accessible to some autistic adults. For some, it's more difficult. But by giving people the choice, we're allowing every individual to thrive. And that's what it comes down to. So how have we adapted? Well, when it comes to communication, we used a lot of videos. Now, you might think, Tom likes talking. I do. I love talking about what we do because it's my passion. I could talk to you for hours about this, but I'm not going to. I keep looking at the clock. But it's about, in a video message, we can tell people our story. It's quite hard, really, unless you're an expert writer, to put that into words. And you look individuals like Laura at the Happy Hood and the team there that are always sharing positive messages about Northampton, and the way in which they do that through writing is brilliant. I perhaps struggle with that, but if you put a camera in front of me, Do I cringe? Do I go red? Yeah, absolutely. But we saw the engagement. We hosted conversations online. We were able to get real life lived experiences of people that we put onto our YouTube channel. I'm not even going to go into start comparing figures. I was quite proud of some of the number of likes some of the videos had, but I'll keep that quiet after hearing the figures that Charles was talking about. But tech, communication, one of the things we say to employers is think about how you communicate. You know, can we turn things into diagrams, processes? Can we turn it into words? Can it be a video? Can we record it? These things can help. They could be a barrier to someone getting into work, and we can change them using tech. Subtitles, apps. You know, there's some fantastic free apps online that you can get, which will put the subtitles on for you, which can help someone to access that message that you're getting. I think when we're looking at communicating, I think one of the most successful posts I've ever had of LinkedIn was about going to Aldi in April last year when I just spoken about how terrifying I found it, and at the time I don't know why I wrote it, and actually it was one of the most engaging pieces, probably just because I was me. I just put it out there as that. I think having other ways of communicating with people is important. Our e-learning unit, which we've developed on our website, is there for people to kind of use, and I think that's been really helpful because people can engage, take information in as they want. Obviously, with this video, I'm aware I'm giving a lot of information in a short period of time, but people can watch it back. And just thinking about the way in which we communicated things is really important. Selling. It's one of the things that I struggle with probably in business. Someone will say, well, how much are things? Now, in a coffee shop, it's not too bad. But when it's training, how do you put a value on changing someone's life? How do you put a value on creating opportunities? It's difficult. So the cafe, first of all, how do we keep going? So we turned to the virtual world. We set up a buy me a coffee page with the idea that people could buy a virtual coffee, and that worked incredibly well. Generated a lot of income for us. In terms of people we were having meetings, and then rather than having the national chain coffee, which they probably have if they met with someone, they brought a virtual cafe. We could a virtual coffee, sorry, and we could then use that to keep doing our work. So virtual coffees, effectively, someone's paying for what is a gesture. They don't actually get any physical coffee, but that was incredibly successful for us. So much so that we've developed it into monthly memberships that people could do. And that was a great way of keeping our brand there, because what we didn't want to do was just close Cafe Track. No one hears about it until we reopen. And I don't think even we thought it'd be this long. We are reopened now, but it took a while. When it comes to selling training and things, we had our 100 in April sessions planned for 2020, which were to deliver autism training to 100 individuals across Northamptonshire and Milton Keynes. We had venues set up across the county, but also that just couldn't happen. So we connected with iShored, who let us use their fantastic platform called Mere Connexus, which was an online delivery from our point of view. At the time, I didn't appreciate just how sophisticated it was. The fact that it's used through a browser, it's immutable blockchain, the technology. I know I'm talking to people with technology skills today. I could see the uses for that elsewhere. You know, if you're working in settings where conversations need to be recorded, and now you see things where people are editing videos afterwards, these couldn't be edited. What was said in those meetings was really clear. But again, another way of us turning from selling what was a physical product into a virtual product, and the way in which we promoted it. In terms of engagement, finding things that people love. Now, one of the things that we did, which might sound bizarre if you've never heard of it before, I work as a volunteer at Northampton Town Football Club on a match day. In the hospitality, we always ran a competition called Stand Up Bingo. And the idea is you stand up, and if I call out a number, you have to sit down, and then you're out of the game. Now, back in March last year, we made the jump. We moved it to online. People bought a virtual coffee. All the funds going to Cafe Track. And then we played live on Facebook every Saturday afternoon. Now, that grew from 80 people a week up to 250. And okay, not the huge numbers that you were hearing about in previous talks, but actually from an engagement point of view, that got people talking, it got people enjoying. And again, I think now people talk about Cafe Track, stand-up bingo will come into the conversation somewhere. I was planning to have a game this afternoon, but I'm not sure with the excitement of the match tonight we would have had time. But finding that thing that people love is really, really important. When it comes to social media, one of the things that I learned quite quickly, and I'm still learning, is responding is almost as good as your own content. If you're engaging with people, finding out what they do, sharing their stories, I think that makes such a huge, huge difference. And I'm not here today to kind of tell you that because, as I said, I'm not an expert. I'm just sharing from our own experiences. And also in terms of engagement, one of the things which I always struggled with when I first started running a business was I always assumed for local business awards that someone would nominate you, and that's how you got into finals and things. I didn't realize a lot of it is actually you putting in your own application to do that about your business. So I was always a little bit reluctant because we weren't in it to win trophies or awards. But actually, what we found was it was a great way of engaging with our audience. Last year, we were actually shortlisted as a finalist in the National Diversity Awards. So we're hoping to go up to Liverpool for the finals in September. Fingers crossed they can go ahead. But that nationally had 60,000 votes placed. And Cafe Track from Northampton, you know, a year into what it's doing, is now in the shortlist of a national final. And our mailing list went out, and our picture was next to Marcus Rashford, who'd been nominated for his work that he'd done throughout it. So I think that for us was important in terms of engaging with people. You hear me talking about creating opportunities. Why is it important? Well, I guess one of the things to come from today is making those connections and working together, because social media for me is the social part of it is important. It's engaging with people, it's learning, it's making those connections that at some point someone will go, you know what, I'm having a conversation now, and Richard's fantastic about it, and the team at Digital Northant will come and say, oh, you need to have a chat with Tom, or Tom, you need to have a chat with Charles, whoever it might be. And that is what we can do. And that's why events such as today are incredibly powerful, because that collaboration is going to be critical. You've got lots of small social enterprises now that will all be applying for very similar funding pots to help people. I don't think there's any doubt to say we face mental health challenges in terms of supporting individuals. We face challenges around unemployment. But actually working together is the way in which we can help each other to keep doing that. And I think that's crucial. And when we talk about what's 2030 going to look like as Northampton, as a digital town, social enterprises, and businesses such as cafes, who you might think, what have they got to do with digital? Absolutely everything. And as businesses, creating experiences for people, we look at that everything from work experience through to stand-up bingo, and giving people that engagement to look at. So in terms of what's next, we'd love to talk to you all. I know I've overrun by a minute or two, but we're on social media. We'd love to come and follow us, have conversations, and see how we can support each other. We might be doing very, very similar things, but actually we might be right for one person and not right for another. We've got virtual and physical events planned. Our training, our monthly training events are on there as well. So there's lots of things there. And I think, again, it is important, like I said at the start, share where you make a difference, because whilst it might feel like shameless self-promotion, it's not. It's helping to raise awareness and might actually have a huge impact on somebody. And that can be difficult. You know, if you ask me, do I like job interviews? No, I hate them, because you have to sell yourself. I don't want to do that. And you might think, well, hang on, you've just done nothing but that for the last half an hour. But that's not about me. This is about Track and Cafe Track. And from our point of view, our social media, we'd love you to come and follow us, engage with us, let us know what you're doing. So I guess at that point, Richard, I will stop sharing and come back into the room. I've not looked at the chat, so I don't know if there's anything in there.
Fantastic, Tom. You are a great presenter. No doubt about that. Really enjoyed it. Really, really engaging. And, you know, Tom mentioned there about hooking him up and connecting with people. Tom follows everything up. You know, that's the biggest thing. You can make these connections, but if people don't follow them up, it doesn't really add any value. But Tom's done that and made some really useful connections. And I think a story with Tom kind of sums up everything that we're trying to achieve and Tom's trying to achieve. There was a young lady that Tom knew, autistic lady. She was at the university. I think she'd just graduated. It was like a graphic designer and was really struggling to get any kind of work experience. Tom connected her to us, and we gave her a couple of weeks experience. We didn't have any work, full-time jobs lined up. But she came to the original Merge Futures event, networked there as much as she could, visited one of the sessions there, and then met Spokes Education, who gave her a work experience placement, and then ended up being a full-time job there for her. So it was just a fantastic example of communicating, connections, and what Tom said there, creating opportunities. That's what it does, and that's what these kind of events do. But it only does it if you follow it up, and it's not just a session you sit in. It's something that you actively do after and create the opportunity after. So yeah, great, Tom. You've summed up the event and everything that we're both trying to achieve, I think.
No worries, no, thank you. And like I say, it is a huge thanks to Digital Northampton, because these are the things that will make a massive difference. And like you say, just having a conversation can lead to changing someone's life. And that's not too small to say. It might sound over dramatic, but it does make a life changing difference.
Yeah, and going from that, deep and meaningful to being your neighbour of the week, I'd imagine that comes with a lot of freebies.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there'll be coffees waiting for you at any time when you call in. But again, even things like that, when people do come in and have conversations, it's a great place to meet. We don't have background music on. It's designed to get people talking, and I think that's where doing things slightly differently. I think I've said this many a time, but Northampton's got to be good at being Northampton. It shouldn't try and be anywhere else. And we can be good. And you know what? I keep talking about history because I think sometimes it looks like if you like history, you don't like change. Actually, we've got to embrace both. And I mean, we've seen that with some of in terms of is it augmented reality, when you can walk around town and see displays and the work that was done there. Wow, what a way of bringing the town to life for people.
Yeah, absolutely. Just looking through the chat, Janine's just quoted what you said there. We don't have competitors, we have colleagues, partnerships, which is key. Steve Marshall, I don't know whether Steve Marshall is a Cobblers fan, but he's been to a few of the sessions today. Are you aware then of the new hotel end idea, and any thoughts how track could be involved? That's at the Northampton football.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anyone that knows me will know I'm mad keen Northampton Town Football Club fan, and I think anything to improve experience. And again, I think with any project like that, and I think it's great to see fans getting together, and it's about then thinking about it from different people's experiences, because someone's idea of a great day out is another person's nightmare. And that's where, when we looked at the autism awareness game that we had, people were fully entitled to sit wherever they liked, but we did offer a facility that if people wanted some time out, there was a quieter area for people to go. And actually, that's where it was. And, we weren't forcing anyone to sit in a specific seat or do anything here and there. It was about providing that. And I think, when you look at some of the music ideas that they've got there and some of the ways of engaging people, I think there's loads to look forward to. And, if we can help that in any way, the main thing we do is get some of our team members along, because they'll give you the feedback, because they'll say this will work well, I'd struggle with that, and we then look at adapting it to meet every individual's needs, hopefully.
Yeah, great. Katrina said, a fantastic example of how social can be used for good. Sharing your passion and supporting others is what it's all about, regardless of company size or budget. Thank you, Tom. Yeah, absolutely. Loads of good comments in the chat, Tom. Julie Warner, brilliant session. Thank you so much, Thomas. Can't wait to give Cafe Track and a visit. Every time I visit you, you're never there.
But this is one of the problems of actually
being a celebrity.
Just trying to be here, there, and everywhere. But isn't that where, in some ways, I look today? I've been able to sit and watch the sessions. I've been able to engage in them, and actually, when we look going forward, I can't wait to visit one of these in person. But also, I think that having that choice is really important, because what about for the person whom the noise is too much in the background, or there's just too many voices, but they can still engage with it? And I think that's where the more you ask people, the more you do. I put a post on LinkedIn the other day, which was very relevant, about how some people have assumed Zoom interviews are better for individuals, but actually they can be even worse. And it's a case of finding that out and just being kind of clear with people, because again, as someone that delivers training, to not be able to see anyone's faces all the way through that, my head's going, have people left? Why have they left? Are they enjoying it? And you sort of have to ignore that. Whereas when you're in a room full of people, if someone gets out the front row and leaves, you've got you've misjudged the audience. But I think that's where it can be really interesting.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Hopefully next year we'll be able to do a hybrid event, so we're back down the uni, but then maybe take advantage of some of these platforms. although the numbers that he was talking about earlier to license that one, I think Zoom being free works in our favour. But we did have, the first time we did one of these for last year's Merge Futures, we did get a lot of comments from people who attended who were disabled and said if it had been a live event, we couldn't have come. So that was a good eye opener for us. And obviously you can attract people from all over the world. A lot of people today have signed up from all over the world. That was brilliant, Tom. I'm going to stop the recording now because we're just going to wrap the session up. But that was fantastic. Really appreciate your time today and putting that together. And like I said, yeah, a really good, brilliant, inspirational speaker that you've become, Tom.
No worries. Thank you very much indeed. Cheers, everyone.